Alright, folks of r/I don't work here lady, pull up a chair. Name, S. Ethan, and while my usual beat is less about retail drama and more about, well, actual crime, I've got a story that definitely belongs here with a bit of a blue twist. So picture this, it's one of those dead quiet night shifts, the kind where you start counting streetlights just to stay awake. I'd clocked in at 11 p.m. and the city was mostly behaving itself. That is, until about 12:30 a.m. when the radio crackled to life with a burglary in progress. Just like that, my peaceful night decided to clock out. Adrenaline's a hell of a coffee substitute. I got to the scene, a small electronics store, just as a couple of shadows melted into the alleyway. Typical, suspects gone. I called it in, secured the perimeter, and started the glamorous life of report writing by flashlight in my cruiser. Not long after, Mr. Henderson, the owner, showed up. Poor guy looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, and honestly, who could blame him? "Third time, officer," he said, his voice raspy with exhaustion and frustration. "Third time in 3 months. I don't know how much more of this I can take." You could just feel the weight on him, and I genuinely wanted to nail these guys for him. The CSI team rolled in, and we were huddled around a tiny monitor, trying to make out something useful from the grainy security footage. We were getting somewhere, starting to piece together a description when Officer Miller arrived as backup. Now Miller, let's call him Dave, he's enthusiastic, means well, always got a joke or a helpful tip, sometimes before his brain fully engages, nice guy but occasionally lives in his own little world. Dave surveys the scene, sees me talking with Mr. Henderson by the smashed front window, then sidles up as Mr. Henderson steps away to take a call. Dave shakes his head, looking at the damage with a critical eye. "Man," he says, loud enough for me and probably the next county to hear, "you guys really need to beef up your security. If you actually worked here, you'd know this kind of thing is preventable." I paused my note-taking. I was in my full uniform, badge gleaming under the streetlight, notepad in hand, actively investigating a crime scene as a police officer. Dave, also in uniform, had just arrived. I looked down at my own uniform, then back at him. A little smile played on my lips. This could be fun. "Oh, really?" I said, keeping my voice neutral. "So you think I work here at the shop?" Dave scoffed, puffing out his chest a bit. "Well, yeah, stands to reason, doesn't it? You're right in the thick of it with the owner. Look, no offense, but these door locks are a joke. You need reinforced steel plates, not this flimsy stuff. And those window sensors, probably the cheapest ones on the market. You should tell your manager, or if that's you, then you should invest properly." I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. The CSI guys were starting to glance over, sensing some prime breakroom gossip brewing. Mr. Henderson was still on his call, oblivious. "Good advice, Officer Miller," I said, drawing out his name just a tad. "Anything else the staff here should know?" Dave, bless his cotton socks, was now fully in lecture mode, completely missing the subtext. "Absolutely, your camera angles are all wrong. You've got two capturing the back of their heads, useless. You need wide-angle high-rays pointed directly at faces, cross-coverage at entry points. And for heaven's sake, get some decent exterior lighting. It's like you're inviting them in." He gestured emphatically, nearly knocking over a stack of evidence markers. I let him go on for another solid minute about alarm systems, inventory management, as if I was doing stock take, and even the benefits of hiring a night security guard, presumably to replace, well, me. Finally, as he paused for breath, I leaned in conspiratorially. "You know, Dave," I said, "you make some excellent points, really insightful, almost like you've been to the police academy and learned about crime prevention." Dave beamed. "Exactly, see, you get it. Now, if you could just pass that on to whoever's in charge of procurement here." I couldn't hold it in anymore. A chuckle escaped me, then another. One of the CSI techs snorted. Dave looked confused. What's so funny?" I took a slow, deliberate step back and spread my hands. "Dave," I said, trying to keep a straight face, "look at me, full uniform, badge, gun, currently investigating a felony. Who exactly do you think works here that I need to pass your stellar advice on to?" The realization dawned on Dave's face like a very slow, very awkward sunrise. His eyes widened, then darted from my badge to my face, then to the CSI guys who were now openly grinning. He went from confident expert to blushing rookie in about 3 seconds flat. "Oh," he mumbled, his ears turning a fascinating shade of crimson. "Oh, right, you're Officer Ethan, the primary, right?" He coughed. "Thought you were a deep undercover as the night manager or something." The CSI lead finally lost it and burst out laughing. "Deep undercover as a guy doing his job, Dave. Classic." Even Mr. Henderson, who had finished his call, cracked a smile when we quickly filled him in. Dave took it like a champ, though, once the initial mortification wore off. He even managed a week. Well, the advice still stands for the actual employees. So yeah, not your typical "I don't work here" lady, but definitely a memorable night. And Dave, he's a bit more careful about assuming who's who at a crime scene now. We still give him grief about his brief stint as a security consultant for a store that wasn't his, to a cop who definitely didn't work there.
All right, so picture this. It's one of those perfect sunny afternoons, the kind that almost makes commuting bearable. I'm cruising down the highway in my beloved, if slightly temperamental, Jeep. Got the windows down, singing badly off-key to some classic rock, basically just vibing my way to the office grind. Then whump-thump-thump-thump. The whole Jeep shudders and I feel this sickening lurch to the left. My stomach just drops. I glance down, yup, speed plummeting. A quick, panicked look in the side mirror confirms it. My front left tire looks like chewed bubblegum. Great. Just fantastic. Now look, I'm a guy who can spin a decent yarn, but when it comes to anything more mechanical than changing a light bulb, I'm basically useless. Seriously, I break things just by looking at them sometimes. So getting this beast of a tire changed on the shoulder of a busy highway, not exactly my idea of a good time. I managed to wrestle the Jeep over to the side, hazards flashing like a sad little disco ball. First call, roadside assistance. Naturally, the estimated wait time was roughly equivalent to the heat death of the universe. So there I am, sweating in the sun, staring at my flat tire like it personally insulted my mother, and feeling that familiar wave of "oh crap, what now?" wash over me. Maybe 10 minutes crawl by, cars whizzing past, making the Jeep rock slightly each time. Then an older-looking sedan pulls up behind me. My first thought, honestly, great, someone wants to tell me I can't park here. But no, a family gets out. Dad, mom, a young girl maybe 10-ish, and a younger boy. The dad, a guy probably in his mid-40s with kind eyes and work-roughened hands, walks up cautiously. He gives me this warm, genuine smile and asks, in halting English, "Problem? You need help?" Okay, I'll admit, a flicker of that city-bred wariness sparked up. You hear stories, right? But something about his demeanor, the way his family hung back watching, just felt decent. Solid. Plus, let's be real, I was desperate. "Yeah," I sighed, gesturing helplessly at the flat. "Big time, got a blowout." He introduced himself as Juan. His daughter, Marie, stepped forward shyly. "My dad asks if you have the tools." Her English was perfect, thank goodness. Turns out Juan had a jack, but one look at my Jeep and then back at his little sedan, Jack made it clear it wasn't gonna cut it. It was like trying to lift an elephant with a toothpick. My heart sank again. Roadside assistance wasn't answering my follow-up calls. This was escalating from inconvenient to potentially stranding me here for hours. I just kinda slumped against the Jeep, feeling like a total idiot. "No," I mumbled, "mine's missing. Note to self, actually check if the spare kit is in the car before needing it." Juan didn't miss a beat, though. His eyes scanned the roadside verge. He pointed towards a chunky down tree limb a little way off. He said something in Spanish to his son, who nodded seriously. Together, they dragged this heavy log over. I had no idea what he was planning. Then, with a grunt, Juan wedged the log under the Jeep's frame, creating just enough of a stable base to give his smaller Jack the height and leverage it needed. It was actually pretty ingenious. I just stood there, amazed and feeling increasingly useless. "Okay," I said, trying to reclaim some shred of competence. "Let me at least get the lug nuts loosened." I grabbed the tire iron from my mostly complete kit, jammed it onto a nut and put my weight into it. Too much weight, apparently. There was a horrible snap sound, and I stumbled back, holding half a tire iron. The other half clattered onto the pavement. Now I wasn't just useless, I was actively breaking the tools we needed. The embarrassment washed over me hot and prickly. "Oh man, I am so sorry," I stammered. Juan just chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound. "No problemo, amigo." He exchanged a few quick words with his wife, also Marie, confusingly, but hey, and she immediately headed off towards a gas station visible in the distance. While she was gone, Juan and I, with young Marie translating bits here and there, actually started chatting. He told me about coming here, working construction, the dreams he had for his kids. I told him about my writing, feeling a bit silly talking about storytelling dreams while this guy was practically rebuilding my car with found objects. But he listened, nodded, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Mrs. Marie returned, new tire iron in hand, bless her. With the proper tool and Juan's know-how, the rest of the tire change was almost ridiculously smooth. He worked with this quiet efficiency like he'd done it 1,000 times. Young Marie and the son watched their dad, pride shining on their faces. Within 15 minutes the flat was off, the spare was on, and the Jeep was back on all 4 wheels. I felt this huge wave of relief. "Juan, seriously, thank you so much. Let me give you something for your time and for the new tire iron, please," I said, reaching for my wallet. I was already calculating what felt right, $50. More. He held up a hand, shaking his head firmly, that same warm smile back. No, is okay?" He turned to his wife, who handed him a small, foil-wrapped bundle from a bag they had. He pressed it into my hand. "For you, tamale." It was still warm. I was starving, actually. "Wow, thank you," I said, genuinely touched. As I started to unwrap it, I felt something hard inside. Not bone. I looked up, confused. Juan and both Marias were grinning, watching me. I carefully pulled out the obstruction. It was a neatly folded $20 bill tucked inside the tamale. I stared at it, then back at Juan, completely floored. I can't take this," I stammered, trying to hand it back. Juan gently pushed my hand away. He looked me square in the eye, his expression suddenly serious but still kind. "Today you," he said slowly, tapping my chest. "Tomorrow me." He tapped his own chest. "Today you, tomorrow me." That hit me harder than the blowout. It wasn't about money or obligation. It was just human decency, paying it forward. Helping because you can, knowing that someday you might be the one needing help. I drove away from there feeling humbled, grateful, and clutching a surprisingly delicious tamale, once the cash was removed. Juan's words echoed in my head, "Today you, tomorrow me." Since then, I've tried to live by that a little more. Pulled over to help a couple struggling with their flat tire. Turns out watching Juan taught me something. Gave a ride to a frantic student whose Uber bailed on her way to the airport. Small things, maybe, and every time someone tries to offer me cash, I just smile, shake my head, and say, "It's okay. Today you, tomorrow me." It's easy to get caught up in our own bubbles, you know, to see strangers as potential threats or inconveniences. But that day on the highway, Juan and his family reminded me that kindness is simpler and way more powerful than we sometimes think. So that's my story. Maybe keep an eye out for someone who looks like they could use a hand. You never know, you might just get a really good tamale out of it. But more importantly, you get to be the tomorrow me for someone else's today you.
If you've made it this far, you've clearly got great taste in internet drama. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more wild stories like these. All right, on to the next one.
All right, folks, settle in, because this one's a classic case of clipboard equals employee in the wild, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. So picture this, it's a Tuesday afternoon, and I'm at a massive chain grocery store with 2 of my colleagues, Sarah and Tom. We're all in our standard office casual, think blouses, slacks, sensible shoes for us ladies, button-down and khakis for Tom. Definitely not the bright red polo shirts and aprons the actual store staff were rocking. Our mission, Operation Welcome Back Bash. The company was finally having everyone back in the office post-you-know-what, and we were on the snacks and supplies committee. I had the clipboard with the master list, Sarah was on price checking with a scanner app on her phone, and Tom was gamely pushing the cart. We're deep in the party supplies aisle, comparing prices on paper plates versus plastic, the usual thrilling stuff, when I feel that prickle on the back of my neck. You know, the someone is staring at you prickle. I glance up and there she is. She had to be in her late 50s, with a perm tight enough to crack walnuts and glasses perched on the end of her nose that she was peering over like a hawk spotting a field mouse. And boy, did she look sour. Her eyes flicked from my clipboard to Sarah's phone, to Tom wrestling with a stubbornly nested stack of plastic cups, then to a nearby store employee cheerfully stocking shelves. You could practically see the gears grinding in her head, smoke puffing from her ears as the does not compute error flashed. She marched over, stopping a little too close for comfort. "Excuse me," she snapped, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. "What exactly do you think you're all doing?" Sarah, bless her polite heart, jumped in first. "Oh, hi, we're just grabbing some supplies for an office party. We don't actually work." "Don't work here, Karen, because let's be honest, what else could her name be?" scoffed, cutting Sarah off. She jabbed a finger towards my clipboard. "Then what's that, and why are you messing with the stock if you're not employees? You should be in uniform if you're going to be on the floor." I sighed internally. "Here we go, ma'am," I said, trying for my most patient customer service voice. "Ironic, I know. We're not on the floor as employees. We're shopping for our own office event. We don't work for this store." Tom, who's usually pretty quiet, chimed in. "Yeah, we're just trying to figure out how many bags of chips we need for 50 people. Karen's face got even tighter. "I don't care what you think you're doing. You're clearly staff, probably new and poorly trained, and you're not even wearing the right attire. It's unprofessional. People will get confused." "Well, you seem to be the only one confused so far," I muttered, maybe a bit louder than I intended. Her eyes narrowed. "What was that? You know what? I've had enough of your lip. I want to speak to your manager. Now." Perfect. I spotted our actual team lead, Diane, a few feet away comparing napkin prices. Diane's great, super organized, always calm, but definitely more of a negotiator than a confronter. "Diane," I called, waving her over. "This lady would like a word." Diane, ever the professional, came over with a pleasant smile. "Hello, can I help you?" Karen rounded on her. "Are you their manager?" she demanded. Diane, looking a bit surprised but still smiling, nodded. "Well, your staff are incredibly rude. They're not in uniform and they're clearly not trained properly. This is an embarrassment to this establishment." Diane's smile didn't falter, but I saw a flicker of, one of these in her eyes. "Ma'am," she said, her voice calm and even, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. We don't actually work for this grocery store. We're from our company name, and we're here purchasing items for an event at our own office." Karen's face turned a rather impressive shade of purple. "Don't you lie to me, you disrespectful little kid. You're all in on it, trying to get away with slacking off. I bet you're the one who told them they didn't need to wear uniforms." Diane, bless her, stood her ground. "Ma'am, I'm not lying. We're customers, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't call me names. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a lot to get through." She made to turn away. That's when Karen really lost it. "You can't just walk away from me. I am a customer. I demand service. I demand your corporate number," she shrieked, actually stamping her foot. Now what Karen didn't know, and what we sometimes forgot until moments like these, was that Diane wasn't the top of our food chain on this little expedition. Our department head, Mr. Henderson, a man who was ex-Special Forces and still carried himself like he could snap you in half with a stern look, had decided to oversee the morale-boosting expenditure. He'd been quietly examining the cheese selection a few aisles over. At the shriek, Mr. Henderson materialized. He wasn't a large man, but he had a presence. He moved with a quiet efficiency that just screamed, "Do not mess with me." He simply walked up, stood beside Diane, and looked at Karen. He didn't say a word, he just looked. It was a look that had probably made grown men confess to things they hadn't even done. Karen's tirade faltered mid-shriek. Her mouth opened and closed a few times like a goldfish. The purple in her face drained away, replaced by a sudden pasty white. Mr. Henderson finally spoke, his voice soft, almost a purr, but with an undercurrent of pure steel. "Is there a problem here, ma'am, that requires this level of volume?" Karen stared at him. She glanced at Diane, then at us, then back at Mr. Henderson. I swear you could see the last bit of bluster deflate out of her like a leaky balloon. She mumbled something that sounded suspiciously like no problem, grabbed her handbag, and practically sprinted down the aisle and out of sight, not even bothering with a cart or any actual groceries. Mr. Henderson watched her go, then turned to us, a tiny, almost imperceptible twitch at the corner of his mouth that might have been a smile on a normal person. "Right," he said, "paper plates. I believe the eco-friendly ones are on sale. Shall we?" We finished our shopping in record time, still kind of buzzing from the whole thing. and you better believe those welcome back party snacks tasted extra sweet. Sometimes you don't need a hero in a cape, you just need an ex-military boss with a death stare.
Got time for one more. This next video is worth it.